Landslides, road collapses, earthquakes, and the unforgiving silence of remote Alaska have always formed the backdrop of Alaska, The Last Frontier, a reality series that ran for more than a decade and built its identity on survival in one of the harshest environments on Earth. Viewers were drawn not just to the danger of the landscape, but to the family living within it, the Kilchers, descendants of Swiss immigrants who turned a remote homestead near Homer, Alaska, into a generational experiment in self-reliance. Yet as the series evolved, attention shifted from wilderness survival to the personal lives of its cast, particularly Jane Kilcher and her marriage to Atsley Kilcher. When news of their separation surfaced, fans were left searching for clarity, trying to separate televised narrative from lived reality. The story became more than a question of divorce. It became a reflection of how reality television reshapes real relationships under constant visibility, editing choices, and audience interpretation, leaving gaps that speculation quickly rushes to fill. The Kilcher homestead and the foundation of a survival legacy. To understand Jane Kilcher's story, it is necessary to understand the world she became part of. The Kilcher family homestead, established by pioneers Yule and Ruth Kilcher more than 80 years ago, sits outside Homer, Alaska, and represents a lifestyle built on endurance rather than convenience. Generations of Kilchers have lived there without modern heating systems, relying instead on hunting, fishing, farming, and careful preparation for extreme winters. The land itself is both resource and responsibility, shaping every decision the family makes. Over time, this homestead evolved into a symbol of Alaskan independence and resilience, attracting public fascination long before television cameras arrived. When Alaska, The Last Frontier premiered in 2011, it transformed this private way of life into a global spectacle. Viewers saw not just survival techniques but also family dynamics unfolding in real time, blending tradition with entertainment in a way that blurred the line between documentary and storytelling. Jane Kilcher's entrance into a world built on tradition and expectation. Jane Kilcher was not born into the Kilcher legacy, but she became part of it through her relationship with Atsley Kilcher. Growing up in Homer, Alaska, she already had familiarity with the coastal environment, but her expertise came primarily from fishing rather than homesteading. This background gave her a different perspective compared to the more traditional Kilcher approach to survival, allowing her to bring practical fishing skills and modern adaptability into a family rooted in older methods. Her role on Alaska, The Last Frontier, quickly expanded beyond that of a spouse, as she demonstrated capability in harsh conditions, particularly in fishing expeditions that helped sustain the household. However, entering a family so deeply connected to generational identity also meant entering a structure already defined by established roles, expectations, and storytelling patterns that would later influence how she was portrayed on screen. The fisherwoman image and the limits of television framing. Among fans of the series, Jane Kilcher became widely recognized for her fishing skills, often depicted hauling in salmon or navigating cold waters to supply food for the family. This image, while accurate in part, gradually became the dominant lens through which audiences understood her. Television editing emphasized certain traits to fit narrative flow, and Jane's identity as a skilled fisherwoman became a recurring theme. However, this framing also narrowed her representation. Outside of fishing sequences, her roles as mother, partner, and independent contributor to homestead life were less frequently highlighted. Over time, this imbalance created frustration, as her contributions appeared simplified compared to the more dramatic arcs of other family members. What audiences saw was not necessarily false, but incomplete, shaped by storytelling priorities rather than the full complexity of daily life on the homestead. Atsley Kilcher, family dynamics, and the weight of screen presence. Atsley Kilcher, Jane's former husband, was one of the central figures of the series, often portrayed as adventurous, impulsive, and deeply tied to the wilderness. His storyline frequently focused on physical challenges, survival risks, and personal resilience in extreme conditions. As a result, his screen presence naturally became dominant within the show's structure. This dynamic influenced how relationships were portrayed, with Jane often positioned in a supporting narrative role rather than as a parallel lead. While Atsley's experiences with nature and personal struggles received significant attention, the quieter aspects of family life, emotional labor, stability, and coordination were less emphasized. This imbalance contributed to a public perception that did not always reflect the internal reality of their partnership, where both individuals played essential but differently visible roles in maintaining their shared life on the homestead. Life beyond the camera and the reality of edited storytelling. Reality television operates on selective storytelling, and Alaska, the last frontier, was no exception. Hours of footage are condensed into structured episodes designed to maintain pacing, tension, and audience engagement. Within this framework, certain narratives naturally receive emphasis, while others are reduced or omitted entirely. Jane Kilcher has expressed frustration in various discussions about how editing shaped public perception of her identity, often reinforcing a limited version of her role. While she valued her fishing contributions, she also emphasized that her life included far more complexity than what appeared on screen. The editing process, while not deceptive in intent, inevitably created a version of reality filtered through production decisions, leaving gaps that audiences often filled with assumptions rather than full context. Marriage, distance, and the gradual shift in personal alignment. The marriage between Jane and Atsley Kilcher developed within the unique pressures of both homestead life and television production. Living in remote Alaska requires constant adaptation, cooperation, and resilience, but the added visibility of a television series introduces additional strain. Over time, differences in lifestyle expectations, personal direction, and emotional priorities became more pronounced. While both individuals shared a commitment to the land and family structure, their experiences within that environment diverged. Atsley's frequent focus on individual survival challenges contrasted with Jane's emphasis on stability and family-centered responsibilities. These differences did not emerge suddenly but gradually accumulated, shaped by years of overlapping responsibilities and public exposure that left little space for privacy or separation from external interpretation, public speculation, and the pressure of being under constant observation. As Alaska, the last frontier, gained popularity, viewers began analyzing not only survival situations but also interpersonal relationships within the Kilcher family. This level of attention often led to speculation about internal disagreements, particularly surrounding Jane and Atsley's marriage. Social media amplified interpretations of on-screen moments, turning minor interactions into perceived evidence of deeper conflict. Rumors about tension within the family circulated widely, even when no direct confirmation existed. For those living within the homestead, this meant that private struggles were frequently projected into public narratives, creating pressure that extended beyond the natural challenges of rural life. The constant observation blurred boundaries between reality and interpretation, making it difficult to separate personal experience from audience expectation. The reality of separation and the end of a shared chapter. Eventually, Jane Kilcher and Atsley Kilcher's marriage came to an end, marking a significant turning point in both their personal lives and the broader narrative of the series. While public attention focused on the announcement itself, the reality behind such decisions is rarely simple or sudden. Years of evolving priorities, emotional distance, and differing perspectives on life direction contributed to the separation. Rather than a single event, it reflected a gradual shift that unfolded over time. Following the divorce, both individuals continued to focus on their personal responsibilities and roles within the broader family structure, maintaining connections to the homestead while redefining their individual paths. The end of their marriage became part of a larger story about change, adaptation, and the difficulty of sustaining relationships under both environmental and public pressure. Life after divorce and reclaiming individual identity. Following the separation, Jane Kilcher began focusing more explicitly on her individual identity beyond her role within the Kilcher family narrative. This included prioritizing motherhood, personal stability, and her connection to Alaska outside the framework of television production. Stepping away from being primarily defined as a spouse or supporting character allowed her to reclaim aspects of her life that had been overshadowed by the series. While she remained connected to the homestead environment, her presence became more self-directed rather than defined by shared storyline arcs. This transition reflected a broader reality faced by many individuals in long-running reality programs, where personal identity must eventually be re-established outside the structure of production narratives and audience expectations. The audience perspective and the gap between story and reality. For viewers, the separation between Jane and Atsley Kilcher raised questions not only about their relationship, but also about how reality television shapes understanding of real people. Audiences often form emotional connections with televised versions of individuals, assuming continuity between edited content and private life. However, the gap between production narrative and lived experience is often significant. What viewers perceive as character arcs are, in reality, fragmented representations shaped by editing, timing, and storytelling choices. Jane's experience highlights this disconnect, where public perception did not always align with personal reality. The result is a complex relationship between audience expectation and individual truth, complicated further by the emotional investment viewers develop over years of watching a series. The Kilcher family system, an uneven story focus. Within Alaska, the last frontier, storytelling naturally gravitated towards certain family members whose roles aligned with high-risk survival activities. Ats Kilcher and Ats Lee Kilcher often became central figures due to their physical challenges and wilderness-focused narratives. In contrast, other members of the family, including Jane, were less frequently positioned at the center of dramatic storytelling arcs. This imbalance was not necessarily intentional, but reflected the production emphasis on visible struggle and environmental confrontation. As a result, contributions that were equally essential but less visually dramatic received reduced attention. This structure shaped audience perception, reinforcing certain identities while limiting others, even within the same household and shared environment. Reflection on legacy, privacy, and life beyond television. As the series concluded its long run in 2022, attention gradually shifted away from weekly episodes and toward reflection on what the Kilcher story represented. For Jane Kilcher, this included navigating life beyond the constant presence of cameras and public interpretation. The experience of living part of one's life on television leaves lasting effects, particularly when personal relationships become part of public discourse. Her story reflects broader questions about privacy, identity, and representation in reality media. While viewers may associate her primarily with fishing or her marriage, her lived experience encompasses far more complexity than televised moments can fully express. The end of the series allowed space for quieter existence, where identity is no longer shaped primarily through editing or audience expectation. Closing perspective on truth, storytelling, and unseen realities. The story of Jane Kilcher and Alaska, the last frontier, ultimately exists at the intersection of reality and narrative construction. While the show documented genuine aspects of homestead life, it also filtered those realities through storytelling choices that shaped how individuals were perceived. Jane's journey, from fisherwoman and family member to public figure and eventually divorced individual, reflects the layered complexity of living within both wilderness and media visibility. Her experience illustrates how easily real lives can become simplified within entertainment frameworks, leaving audiences with partial understanding. In the end, what remains is not a single explanation but a broader recognition that behind every televised story lies a deeper, less visible reality shaped by time, relationships, and personal change.